The stars outside were quiet. Ethan sat alone in his small ship, slowly drifting near the edge of known space. His job was simple: repair old satellites, check signal towers, and report back. The galaxy forgot this part of space long ago. He liked it that way. No noise, no orders, just him and the stars. He was finishing up repairs on a broken relay tower when his ship picked up something strange. The signal wasn't human. It wasn't even from any known alien language. It came as soft pulses, like a heartbeat, weak and fading. The computer couldn't decode it, but something about it felt alive. "Where are you coming from?" Ethan whispered. He looked at the star map. The signal came from deep space, an area marked as unsafe and uncharted. His orders said to avoid such zones, but the signal sounded like a call for help. And Ethan wasn't the kind to ignore that dot. He turned the ship and flew toward the signal dot. As he moved closer, his scanners picked up debris, a broken pod, spinning slowly in space. Its side was dented and half melted. Something had hit it hard. Maybe a battle. Maybe something worse. Ethan pulled it into his ship's small cargo bay and rushed to open it. Inside, he found her. She was lying still, eyes closed, breathing faint. She looked young, maybe his age, and not like any alien he had seen before. Her skin was a soft pale blue, and small glowing lines ran across her arms and cheeks. She wore a simple suit, torn in many places. There was blood, but not much. "Hey," Ethan said softly, kneeling beside her. "You're safe now." Her eyes opened slowly. They were large and silver, and filled with confusion and fear. She tried to speak, but only managed a few broken words. "Not safe. They find me." "It's okay," he said. "I'm not one of them." He lifted her carefully and brought her to the medbed. The ship's system scanned her body and started basic healing. She didn't resist. Her eyes stayed on him the whole time, full of pain, but also wonder. Like she didn't expect someone to help. Hours passed. Outside, the stars kept spinning. Inside, the girl finally spoke. "Name, Silra," she said slowly, pointing at herself. "I'm Ethan." He replied, pointing at himself. "You're safe here, Silra." She didn't smile, but her eyes softened. They shared food, simple, human rations and water. She didn't speak much, but she listened. Ethan talked about his ship, about how he liked being alone, about the silence of space. He didn't know why he was talking so much, but something about her made him want to share. Then she said, "No home, no return." Ethan looked at her. "What do you mean?" Silra pointed to the stars outside the window. "They hunt me." He felt a chill in his chest. "Who's hunting you?" She looked down. Her fingers glowed faintly. "My people." "I?" Lefty Ethan didn't press her. He saw the fear in her face, the pain in her voice. Instead, he sat beside her in silence. Outside, a small moon passed by, lighting the room with soft white light. For a moment, they just sat there, human and alien, strangers from different worlds, yet it didn't feel like that. Something about the quiet, the night, the way their eyes met, it felt like a bond was forming, even if neither said it out loud. "You help," Silra said. At last, her voice stronger now. "Of course," Ethan said. "Anyone would." She shook her head. "No, many see me. No one helps." Ethan looked away, unsure what to say. He had no reason to care. No mission, no reward. Yet here he was, risking his ship, breaking orders for a girl he didn't know. But somehow, it felt right. "You can stay here," Ethan said, "for as long as you want." Silra looked at him, and for the first time, she smiled, small, weak, but real. The night grew deeper. The stars outside seemed to watch silently. In that quiet space between planets, two souls had met. One running from the past, one floating alone in the present. Neither of them knew that this one night would change everything. The next day came quietly. The ship drifted near a cold asteroid belt, hidden from most scanners. Ethan checked the engines, made small repairs, and kept glancing at the bedroom door. He didn't know why, but part of him hoped Silra hadn't left. She hadn't. She was sitting by the window, watching the stars. Her wounds were healing, though slowly. The lines on her arms pulsed with soft light. She looked calm but alert, like someone used to running. "You sleep okay?" Ethan asked. Silver nodded once. "Your ship, warm, quiet." "Yeah." He smiled. "It's not much, but it's home." She looked at him for a long second. "Thank you. Again." Ethan shrugged, trying not to show how strange it felt to be thanked like that, like it meant something more. He sat across from her, holding a mug of rehydrated coffee. Silence filled the room, but it wasn't uncomfortable. "You said your people are hunting you," he said gently. "Why?" Silver looked down. Her fingers curled slightly. "They want control." Said no. "Control of what?" She pointed at her head, then her chest. "Mine. Emotion. I was trained to become weapon." Ethan stared at her. "You mean like a soldier?" She shook her head. "Worse. Not to fight. To break others from inside." Ethan didn't speak. Right away, he had heard rumors, deep in the dark sectors of the galaxy. There were species who used strange powers. Telepathy, emotion control, memory bending. But most of that was just talk in space bars. Silver was proof it was real. "You escaped?" he asked. She nodded. "I couldn't do it. They called me broken, traitor. They sent hunters." Ethan leaned back in his seat, his thoughts racing. This wasn't just about helping someone now. If what she said was true, others would come, and they'd be dangerous. "They'll find you?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "But not yet. Your ship hides me. For now," he said. "But we can't stay here forever." Silver looked out at the stars again. "You could leave. Drop me somewhere. I wouldn't blame." Ethan stood and crossed his arms. "That's not gonna happen." She looked at him with surprise. "I helped you." "That means I finished helping you," he said. "You're not cargo. You're someone." Her eyes softened. She said nothing, but a quiet light flickered in her expression. It wasn't quite a smile, but it was close. Suddenly, the ship's alarm buzzed softly. A faint ping, not loud, not urgent, but present. Ethan moved to the console. His face grew tight. "Someone's scanning the system," he said. "Long range. Might be nothing." Silver stood quickly. Her body was still weak, but her senses were sharp. "No, not nothing. It's them." Ethan tapped the controls. "They're far. We've got time. I'll move us behind the belt." As the ship shifted into silent drift mode, Silver came closer to the console. Her hand brushed against Ethan's. She flinched, but didn't pull away. "You're mine," she said softly. "Strong, strange, not like others." He gave a nervous laugh. "I've been told I'm stubborn." She tilted her head, then reached toward his temple. "May I?" Ethan hesitated, then nodded. Her fingers touched his skin lightly. A soft pulse moved through him, not pain, not pressure, just presence. In an instant, he felt something open, like someone had quietly stepped into the back of his thoughts and just looked around. Images flickered, his old crew, the silence of space, moments of laughter, moments of fear. But she didn't dig. She didn't take. She just shared. His eyes widened. "You're in my head." "Not deep," she whispered. "Only surface. Your thoughts are kind. Lonely, full of light." Ethan swallowed. "What about yours?" She looked down. Dark, tired, but safer now. As she pulled her hand back, the connection faded, but something remained, like a thread still connected them, quiet and invisible. "We should go," Ethan said. "Before they lock on." Silver nodded. "I will help. I can feel their direction." Together, they worked. Silver used her sense to warn of danger zones. Ethan piloted carefully through the dense rocks. The ship moved like a ghost, silent and unseen. Ours passed, tension stayed. But so did something else, a strange closeness forming between them. That night, they rested again. They sat together near the window. Ethan showed her old photos from Earth, the trees, oceans, the sky. Silver listened like a child hearing stories. For the first time, she showed him images from her memory too. Floating gardens, cities that sang with light, in a time before she was hunted. They didn't talk about the danger waiting outside. They didn't talk about the future. For that moment, all they had was each other and a ship drifting quietly through the stars. The next day, Ethan woke early. Silence filled the ship. No alarms, no noise. He checked the scanners. Clear. The ship was still hidden in the asteroid field. He stretched, then moved quietly through the hallway toward the cockpit. He found Silra already awake. She stood near the control panel, her eyes closed. Hands glowing softly. Ethan stopped. He didn't speak right away. He just watched. The soft blue light from her fingers danced in the air. Thin waves moved around her head, like heat rising off metal. She was sensing something far away. He could feel it, like her mind was stretching acre. Off space. Silra opened her eyes. She looked tired. They're closer now, she said. Ethan stepped forward. How close? She pointed toward the edge of the belt. One jump, maybe less. They searched slowly. They think I'm broken, weak. Ethan frowned. You're not weak. She looked at him. You don't know what they made me do. What I was meant to be. No, he said. But I know what you've done since we met. You warned me. You helped me. You didn't try to control me. I see that. Her expression softened. Your mind is quiet. It helps mine stay still. Ethan sat down. Then let's keep it that way. We need a plan. Silra nodded. They track emotion. Not just energy, strong feelings, anger, fear. They follow. Ethan thought for a moment. So if we stay calm, they won't find us as fast. He sighed. Easier said than done. They spent the next few hours adjusting the ship's systems. Ethan rerouted power to silent mode. Silra used her gift to bend the signal fields. Together, they turned the ship into a floating rock, nearly invisible to most scans. As they worked, their hands brushed more often. Each time, the strange warmth returned. Not just physical. Something deeper. Ethan felt his thoughts grow clearer. Around her, Silra's eyes grew softer when he was near. By midday, Silra sat by the window again. She stared out at the stars. Quiet. Ethan brought her food. You okay? She looked at him. Your sky's so big. It feels different from mine. How? So, yours feels open, wild, not controlled. Sounds about right. Ethan smiled. Earth was never easy to tame. She took a small bite of food and looked down. My home was quiet, perfect, but not free. Ethan sat beside her. You miss it? Sometimes, she whispered. But I don't want to go back. He nodded. Then you won't. Silra turned her head. Why do you help me? Ethan, even now. He looked at her seriously. Because I know what it's like to be alone. And because maybe I don't want to be anymore. She blinked. Her hand reached out and touched his lightly. No glow this time. Just skin. Then, the alarm buzzed. Ethan jumped to the controls. They found us. Silra stood. Her fingers glowed again. No, not them. Something else. Another ship, not theirs. Pirates? Ethan asked. She shook her head. Not human. Either. Ethan checked the scanner. One small vessel. Heading straight for us. Fast. He started to power up the ship, but Silra touched his shoulder. Wait. Why? I feel something strange. Familiar. The small vessel slowed as it reached the edge of the asteroid field. It stopped. No weapons. No call. Ethan opened a private channel. This is an independent repair ship. Identify yourself. No reply. We should run, he said. Not yet. Silra whispered. Let me try. She stepped forward and closed her eyes. Light moved from her hands again, soft, careful. A moment later, her breath caught. It's another like me, she said. But weak, fading. What? Ethan stared. Like a survivor. Maybe, or bait. They had a choice. Stay hidden. Or take the risk. What if it's a trap? Ethan asked. Then I'll face it, Silra said. But if it's someone like me, I can't leave them. Ethan looked at her for a moment. He saw the fear in her eyes, but also the fire. He nodded. Then we do it together. They flew slowly toward the small ship. When they reached it, they found it in bad shape, half-cracked, drifting. Life signs were weak. Inside was a young alien boy, barely alive. Same skin color as Silra, same glowing lines, but his light was dim. Silver placed her hand on his head. He's not a hunter. He's one of the rejected. Like me. They pulled the boy aboard and placed him on the medbed. Can he be saved? Ethan asked. Yes, but he needs rest, safety, and someone to care. Silver looked at Ethan. Like you did for me. The ship grew quiet again. But things had changed. Now, they weren't just hiding. They were saving lives. Days passed, and the ship was quiet. The boy, whose name Silver had learned was Torn, remained unconscious. His condition improved slowly, but it was clear he was weak, drained of energy. Silver spent most of her time by his side, her fingers glowing gently as she worked to help him heal. She was careful, whispering softly to him in a language Ethan couldn't understand. It sounded like a lullaby, full of comfort and warmth. Ethan had been busy. He worked on the ship, checking every system, making sure they were safe for travel. He still wasn't sure how to feel about the boy. Torn was a risk, and yet Ethan couldn't help but feel sympathy for him. Silver trusted him, and that was enough. One evening, as Ethan prepared a simple meal, Silver came into the cockpit, looking tired but calm. How's he doing? Ethan asked, glancing over his shoulder. Better, Silver replied. He's waking up soon. Ethan nodded. Good. It's about time we figure out what to do next. I know, she said softly, but I can't leave him behind. He's one of us. I get it, Ethan said, turning back to the meal. We'll find a way. There was a long silence between them as the ship hummed around them. Ethan served the food, and Silver took a seat beside him. How's it feel, having someone else here? Ethan asked, his voice light. Silver smiled faintly. Strange, but good. I never thought I'd meet anyone who understood. Ethan paused. You're not alone anymore. She looked at him, her silver eyes softening. Thank you for that. Double quotes. Just then, a soft noise came from the medbay. Both Ethan and Silver stood at once and hurried to the door. Torn was awake. He lay there, blinking slowly, his eyes searching the room. When he saw Silver, he seemed to relax. Then, his gaze shifted to Ethan. You? Torn whispered weakly. You saved me. Ethan stepped forward. Yeah, you're safe now. Torn looked down at his hands, then back at Silver. I'm sorry. I wasn't supposed to be weak. You're not weak, Silver said gently, sitting beside him. You were hurt, but you'll heal. Torn's eyes filled with sadness. They want to break us, make us what we were never meant to be. Silver took his hand. Not anymore. We're free now. Ethan watched them both, feeling something stir inside him. He had never expected to be caught in something like this, but here he was, helping two alien refugees, and for the first time in a long while, he didn't feel alone. What happened? Ethan asked. How did you end up like this? Torn closed his eyes. I was one of them, part of their plan, but I couldn't do it. They were using me to control others, to break them. I ran, but they followed. Silver squeezed his hand. We all run from something. Torn nodded. They're still out there. They won't stop until they find us. Ethan frowned. What's next? We can't keep hiding forever. We can't, Silver agreed. But we can fight back, together. Torn's eyes brightened. You would help? We're not leaving you behind, Ethan said firmly. But we need to figure out a plan. Silver stood, pacing for a moment. They're tracking us through our emotions, but I can block them. If we keep calm, they won't find us as easily. But if they catch us, they'll take you both, Ethan said. I'm not afraid, Silver said quietly. I'm tired of running, so we fight. Ethan said, we make them regret chasing us. Torn looked at both of them, uncertainty in his eyes. But how? We go to the nearest Galaxy Council station, Ethan said. Get help. They'll have weapons, ships. We can make a stand. Silver nodded. It's the only way. There was a long pause as they all looked at each other, the weight of their decision settling in. The stars outside the windows seemed to wait, as if the universe itself held its breath. Let's get ready, Ethan said. We leave at first light. Silver smiled, her silver eyes lighting up. Thank you. You don't need to thank me, Ethan said with a grin. We're in this together now. The quiet hum of the ship filled the room again. Outside, the stars drifted by, oblivious to the new plan. Forming within the walls of the small ship, they weren't just running anymore. They were ready to fight Dot, and whatever came next, they would face it together. The ship was quiet as Ethan, Silra, and Torn prepared to leave the asteroid belt outside. The stars stretched endlessly, like a sea of cold fire. Ethan had plotted a course toward the nearest Galaxy Council station. It was a long shot, but it was their best chance. If they could make it there, they could get the help they needed, weapons, ships, maybe even a fleet. The Council had resources, the galaxy's most powerful factions would protect their own. We'll need to stay out of sight, Ethan said, staring at the star map. The Council station is just outside their patrol route, but it's still a risk. Silra nodded, her fingers glowing softly. I can sense them, their minds, their movements. I'll guide us. I'll keep the ship steady, Ethan replied. But you need to tell me when to turn. If we get caught, we won't last long. Silra sat down beside him, closing her eyes. The soft light of her skin filled the room as she reached out with her mind, searching, feeling. Torn sat quietly in the corner, his eyes wide with worry, but trusting the two of them. He had no experience with stealth or escape plans. Silra had taught him what she could, but the fear was still there, buried deep in his heart. They moved in silence, the ship gliding quietly through space, careful to avoid any large patrols or scouting ships. Silra's connection to the stars seemed stronger now. It wasn't just about hiding anymore. It was about protecting, about knowing when to move and when to be still. She felt the tension in the air and the stillness of space. Her mind reached out into the void, sensing the distant presences of enemies, allies, and the empty vastness in between. Ethan's eyes flicked from the controls to the view outside. The stars were beautiful, but there was a storm brewing, one that no one could see yet. His ship wasn't built for a fight. It was just a small repair vessel, meant to fix things, not fight wars. We're close, Silra said softly, opening her eyes. Ethan's hand hovered over the controls, ready. How close? Too close, she replied, her voice tense. They're near. He looked at the scanner. A single ship appeared on the edge of the map. Not a warship, but something faster. Something built for pursuit. Pirates, Ethan asked. Silra shook her head. Not pirates. They're hunters. Can we outrun them? No, Silra said, her voice heavy. We can hide, but we can't run. Not from them. Then we make a stand, Ethan said firmly. He adjusted the course, bringing the ship toward a nearby nebula. The dense cloud of gas and dust would obscure their path, but it was risky. It was also the only cover they had. They couldn't outrun the hunter ship, but they could use the nebula as a shield. Are you sure? Silra asked. We don't have a choice, Ethan replied. We'll use the nebula as cover. If they follow us in, we'll fight. Silra nodded, closing her eyes again. She reached out to feel the ship's energy, its pulse. The connection between her and Ethan had deepened in the past few days. She could feel his thoughts, his determination, and his fear. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. The ship entered the nebula. The view outside the window shifted into a swirl of bright colors and dark shadows. The stars disappeared, hidden by the dense gas cloud. The ship slowed, barely making a sound as it coasted through the space between particles. This is it, Ethan said, gripping the controls. Stay close. We can't afford any mistakes. The hunter ship followed them into the nebula. It was a sleek, dangerous-looking vessel, built for speed. It darted through the dust and gas, searching for a target. Silra's senses flared. She could feel the presence of the hunters. Their minds cold, relentless. They're close, she said, her voice tight. They know we're here. Then let's make it count, Ethan said. A fire in his eyes, he turned the ship hard to the right, sending it spinning through the nebula's shifting gas. The hunter ship followed, faster and more agile. They were close now, too close. Ethan's heart raced as he slammed the control panel to adjust the ship's speed. They couldn't let the enemy get a lock on them, Silra, Ethan said urgently. Now. Silra reached out with her mind, pushing her energy into the ship's systems. The ship hummed as its power surged. Ethan felt a strange weight lift from his shoulders. It was as if Silra's mind had become one with the ship itself, guiding it through the dangerous clouds. The hunter ship fired. The blast missed by inches, tearing through the space where the ship had been just a moment before. Keep them distracted, Ethan shouted. Silra focused. Her eyes glowed brighter as she reached deeper into the enemy ship's mind. She didn't need to control them, just to confuse them. The hunter ship's sensors flickered and faltered. Ethan saw the opening. This is our chance, he shouted, turning the ship into a sharp dive, right past the hunter ship. For a moment, he thought they were going to crash, but the ship twisted and turned, narrowly avoiding disaster. They broke through the nebula's edge, emerging into the open space of a nearby asteroid field. We lost them, Silra said, breathing deeply. For now. Good, Ethan said, his hands still shaking. Let's get to the council station. We've got a long way to go. They were safe for the moment, but the war was only beginning, and whatever came next, they were ready to face it together. The ship hummed quietly as it moved through the empty space, the stars distant and cold. Ethan, Silra, and Torn were in the cockpit, watching the star map. The council station was close now, but they couldn't afford to make any mistakes. Their ship was still small and unarmed, and the enemies they'd faced weren't far behind. We're almost there, Ethan said, eyes fixed on the controls. Silra's single quotes as face was calm, but her eyes flickered with worry. She could feel them coming. She could always feel them, the hunters. They were still searching for her and Torn. But this time, it wasn't just her running. It wasn't just Torn's life at risk. Ethan's life was now tied to theirs. We need to get inside the council station before they track us, Silra said quietly. Ethan nodded, glancing at Torn, who sat in the corner, his face tense. The boy had recovered some strength, but he was still fragile. Torn had never seen a fight like the one they had just escaped, and he was afraid it wasn't over yet. We'll make it, Ethan said, trying to reassure them both. Just stick to the plan. They approached the council station slowly, staying out of sight of any nearby ships. The station was large, floating in space like a city built out of metal and light. It was their only hope, a place where they could ask for help, where they might find shelter. As they got closer, Silra felt a sudden shift in the air. Something wasn't right. She closed her eyes, reaching out with her senses, but all she could feel was an overwhelming presence, something cold, something far too close. She opened her eyes quickly. They're here, she said. Ethan's single quotes as heart skipped a beat. Who? The hunters, Silra whispered. They found us. Just then, the alarm on the ship began to sound. Ethan's hands flew over the controls. But it was too late. A shadow appeared in the distance, growing larger by the second. A sleek black ship, built for speed and destruction. The hunters had arrived. We're not ready for a fight, Ethan said, gripping the controls tightly. We can't outrun them. Silra's mind raced. She couldn't let them take Ethan. Not now. Not after everything they've been through. There's one thing we can do, she said quickly. We need to reach the council station. If we don't make it, we're lost. We're not lost yet, Ethan said. Let's go. He turned the ship hard to the left, heading straight for the council station's docking bay. They were running out of time. The hunter ship was closing in fast, its weapons charging. Ethan's ship wasn't built for battle, but it was built for speed. He pushed the engines harder, racing through the void, heading straight for the station's Silra's mind reached out again, sensing the enemy ship's movements. She could feel their thoughts, cold, calculating. The hunter ship was faster, but it was also reckless. They wanted to catch them, but they weren't patient. They're not going to stop, Silra said, her voice tense. We have to outsmart them. We will, Ethan said, his voice determined. They were close now, only a few kilometers from the station. Ethan's hands moved quickly, dodging debris, twisting and turning as the hunter ship followed. The distance between them grew smaller, but Ethan's focus didn't waver. They couldn't afford to lose. The council station's docking bay came into view. The massive doors were opening, slowly, as if the station knew they were coming. Ethan Push the ship to its limit, urging it forward. We're almost there, Ethan said, his voice steady. Get ready. The hunter ship fired. The blast hit the edge of the ship's shields, and for a moment, Ethan thought it was over. But the shields held. Just barely. Don't let up, Silra said. Her eyes focused. We can't slow down. Now, with one final push, Ethan steered the ship into the docking bay. Just as the hunter ship fired again, the blast missed them by inches. The docking bay doors closed behind them, sealing them inside. Silra let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Ethan pulled the ship to a stop, the hum of the engine slowly dying down. We made it, Ethan said, looking at Silra. We're safe, for now, Silra replied softly, her mind still on the battle outside. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of what had just happened settling over them. They had made it, but the hunters weren't going to stop. Not until they had Silra and Torin. We need to get to the council, Ethan said, breaking the silence. We can't stay here forever. Silra nodded. Let's go. The council will help us. The three of them exited the ship and made their way toward the council's main building. As they walked through the bustling corridors of the station, Ethan felt a sense of hope for the first time in days. They were safe, for now. But the war was just beginning. And whatever came next, they would face it together. The council station was vast, its hallways filled with the hum of quiet conversations and the soft footsteps of officials. Moving from one place to another, Ethan, Silra, and Torin walked through the crowded corridors, their eyes scanning every face. The air was thick with the weight of what was to come. Silra could feel it. The silent watchfulness of the station's security, the quiet tension that hung in the air. They needed to move fast. The hunters were still out there, still searching for them, and time was running out. We should find someone who can help us, Ethan said, his voice low. Someone who has the authority to make them stop looking for you. Silra nodded, her mind still connected to the energy around them. She could sense the whispers of others, the careful glances of those who noticed them. They were strangers in this place, and that made them dangerous. But Silra wasn't just any stranger. Her escape had drawn attention, and there was no hiding from the past. We need to talk to the council, Silra said. They are the only ones who can make a difference. As they made their way deeper into the station, the halls grew quieter. The architect, Tor, was sleek and imposing, designed to command respect. Ethan kept his pace steady, but his eyes flickered with unease. This wasn't his world. He was a mechanic, not a diplomat or a soldier, yet he was here, fighting for something bigger than himself. They arrived at the council's main chamber. The doors were large, guarded by two silent officers. Silra stepped forward, her posture straight, her gaze unwavering. She had been here before, in a different life, and she knew the gravity of the situation. These people, these council members, were powerful. They controlled the fate of entire systems. We need to speak to the council, Silra said, her voice firm but respectful. The guards exchanged glances, then nodded, stepping aside to let them through. The doors opened slowly, and they stepped into the council chamber. The room was dimly lit, with large windows showing the vastness of space outside. A long table stretched across the room, and at its center sat several council members, their faces stern, their eyes sharp. They didn't look surprised to see Silra, but their expressions were unreadable. What brings you here, alien? One of the council members asked, her voice cold. And why should we care about your escape? Silra's heart beat faster, but she kept her voice steady. I am Silra, and I come to you not as an enemy, but as someone who seeks peace. My people want to control the galaxy, to bend others to their will. They are hunting me because I refused to follow their orders. They will not stop until they have me. The council members exchanged looks, their expressions unreadable. Ethan could feel the tension in the air, the weight of Silra's words hanging heavily between them. And why should we believe you? Another council member asked, his tone skeptical. You are but one alien, and your story is not one we have heard before. Because I am not alone, Silra replied. There are others like me, scattered across the galaxy. We are not weak. But we are hunted. We need your help. Ethan stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. She's telling the truth. We've seen it. We've fought them. And if you don't help us, they'll come for you too. Their reach is long, and they are relentless. The room fell silent for a moment. The council members looked at each other, their minds clearly working. Finally, the leader of the council spoke. Your story is disturbing, she said. But we cannot act on just words. You must prove that you are telling the truth. Silra's eyes narrowed. I have no proof except my word. But I swear to you, if you do not act, we will all suffer. The council leader's gaze softened slightly. We will consider your request. But know this, we cannot risk everything on one alien's word. Then risk it, Ethan said, his voice quiet, but intense. Risk it for the people who don't have a voice. Risk it for the ones who are too scared to speak up. This is bigger than just one of us. If you help Silra, you help the galaxy. For a long moment, the council members remained silent, considering his words. Silra stood tall, her mind focused on the task ahead. She knew she couldn't control everything, but she had to try. Finally, the council leader nodded. Very well, we will help, but understand this, we are taking a risk, and there will be consequences. Thank you, Silra said, her voice filled with relief. You don't know how much this means. We do, the council leader replied. Now, we must move quickly. We will give you shelter, and we will send a message to the galactic fleets. They will help us hunt down the ones who hunt you. As the council members began to make their plans, Ethan looked at Silra, his heart heavy with a mix of emotions. They had made it this far, but the journey was far from over. The hunters were still out there, still chasing them, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. But for the first time in a long while, Ethan felt like they had a chance. They weren't alone anymore. They had the council's help, and together they would face whatever came next.